If you'd told me 6 months ago that I'd catch my wife cheating because of a job I picked up as a side hustle, I'd have laughed and offered you a drink. I mean, I drive Uber for fun, for the stories, for the solitude. Never once did I think it'd be the thing that ended my marriage. Her name was Natalie. Blonde, sharp smile, eyes like she knew something you didn't, and probably did. We were married 7 years. Not perfect years, but good enough. Or so I thought. Anyway, that Thursday started like any other. I was on the app, taking a few post office hour trips, coasting through the suburbs while sipping lukewarm gas station coffee. Then around 7:30 p.m., Natalie walks into the kitchen with her tote bag slung over her shoulder and says, "I'm going to dinner at Lisa's. Girls' night." Now, Lisa's a sweet lady, always invites me to backyard barbecues, and likes to talk about her houseplants too much. But one thing Lisa doesn't do? Host spontaneous Thursday night dinners. Especially not when she just posted on Facebook an hour earlier that she was flying to Tampa to visit her mom. I didn't say anything, just nodded, smiled, and said, "Have fun." She kissed me on the cheek with the enthusiasm of someone clocking out of a shift they hated. The moment the door closed, I opened my Uber app, not to stalk her. That wasn't the intention. I just needed something to do. Keep the mind from wandering into suspicious territory. Then I saw it. A scheduled ride, pickup address, our street, drop off, a condo complex on the outskirts of town, a place I knew well enough, mostly young couples, college kids, and, well, the occasional guy who's not exactly hosting Bible study. The name attached to the ride wasn't hers. But the timing? Too perfect. The destination? Too weird. And the driver? The same guy who'd picked her up twice last week. I recognized his profile photo. I'd seen it when she accidentally left her phone on the table last Saturday. Said it was for work travel. I remember because I joked about his man bun. She didn't laugh. Something clicked. I canceled the driver's route. And I took it myself. Except I didn't bring my Uber decal this time. No, this wasn't business. This was reconnaissance. I changed into jeans, threw on a black hoodie, and got behind the wheel. The car smelled faintly like her perfume. She must have worn this hoodie last week. My grip tightened around the wheel. She still thought I was home. Still thought I was the fool sipping instant coffee and watching reruns while she was off, doing God knows what with God knows who. But she didn't know I was done being the fool. I arrived at the pickup spot 2 minutes early, waited in the shadows at the end of the street like some low-rent Batman. And sure enough, there she was, Natalie, my wife, in her girls' night, jeans, and her lying smile, texting on her phone. I watched as she looked up, checked the license plate of the Uber she expected, didn't see it, and frowned. Then she made a call. I didn't answer. She stood there another minute, pacing. Then, boom, he pulled up. The usual driver. Same man bun. She smiled wide, hopped into his car like she'd done it 100 times. I tailed them. Now, I know it sounds cliche, like some movie plot where the betrayed husband turns detective, but this wasn't a movie. This was Tuesday night in the real world, and my wife just climbed into a car driven by the same guy every week, going to the same unfamiliar address. So I followed, and when I saw where they parked, let's just say, things started adding up. I stayed back, kept 2 cars between us like I'd done this a dozen times. Man bun pulled into a low-rise apartment complex. Brick exterior, 2 flickering porch lights, and the kind of landscaping that screams maintenance comes once a year. Not exactly a spa retreat. I watched her get out of the car. No hesitation. No confusion. Like she'd been there before. She didn't knock. She punched in a code. One of those keypad entry doors. Beep, beep, boop. And in she went, like she owned the place. Or at least rented out its worst decisions. My pulse slowed. Not sped up, slowed. Because that was the moment it stopped being about heartbreak and started being about facts, evidence, data. You know, the kind of stuff cheaters are usually too arrogant to worry about. I waited 15 minutes. Just enough time for her to think the coast was clear. Then I parked across the street and stepped out. Not as an Uber driver. Not as a husband. As a man who wasn't blind anymore. I didn't storm the building. That's what she expected. Drama. Noise. A scene she could weaponize later. I took the back staircase, because being underestimated is a superpower when you know how to use it. On the second floor, I found it, Unit 2C. No shoes outside. A red gym bag just inside the cracked blinds. And voices. Not arguing. Not whispering. Laughing. I leaned against the wall, pulled out my phone, and opened the Uber Partner app. Took a screenshot of the route she scheduled under a different name. Then I scrolled back through the previous week. 3 identical rides. Same pickup, same drop-off. Different aliases. One even used Becky. Bold. That's when I hit record. I didn't break in. I didn't knock. I just turned around and walked out with more power than I'd felt in years. Back in my car, I did what every smart man does in a storm. I got still. I called her. She answered on the 4th ring, fake breathless. Hey babe. Sorry, Lisa's place is kind of a black hole. Hardly any reception. Oh, Lisa. Sweet, fictional Lisa. You poor, imaginary soul. Cool, I said. Say hi to her for me. A pause. She just stepped out. Uh-huh. Weird. I'm in the area. Want me to swing by? Longer pause. I could hear the fear trying to lace itself into concern. Oh, no, it's fine. We're actually heading out soon. Yeah, I figured, I said. Just one more thing before I go. What's that? You left your real name on the Uber account, Natalie. Silence. Long, heavy. Then she laughed. The kind people do when they realize they've lost the script. You're being dramatic, she said. Maybe, I replied. But I'm also being recorded. Click. She hung up. I stared at my reflection in the rearview mirror. My face didn't look angry. It looked focused. You know that moment in chess when you realize your opponent's already 3 moves behind, but still thinks they're winning? That's where I was now. Because Natalie didn't know I'd already hired a private investigator. She didn't know I'd changed the passwords. She didn't know that the lease on her new apartment was in my name. Yeah, she may have had her little Thursday night routine, but I had a plan. The next morning, Natalie was in the kitchen, dressed like nothing happened. She made toast. Toast. Like we weren't married. Like she didn't spend last night tangled up in lies and probably someone else's sheets. Morning, babe, she chirped. Her voice had that fake warmth she uses on customer service reps right before demanding a refund. Sleep well? I asked, sipping my coffee. She paused, just for a breath. Just long enough to wonder, what does he know? Then she smiled. Like a rock. Lisa and I stayed up talking. She's going through stuff. Yeah? You should tell her to call me. I'd love to ask about her Tampa trip. Toast. Mid-butter. Halted. There it was. I didn't press. Just watched her squirm in silence. That's the thing about the guilty. They'll fill the space for you if you let them. After she left for work, or wherever the hell she was actually going, I opened my laptop. First tab. The GPS tracker I'd placed in her car 3 weeks ago. I didn't install it out of suspicion, not originally. I'm an Uber driver. I track everything. But lately, her routes didn't add up. Too many errands. Too many places she didn't bother to mention. Sure enough, there it was. Every lie in pixel form. Work? She hadn't driven there in 5 days. Gym? Only if the gym was code for the Panera Bread parking lot near 12th and Grove, where her lover picked her up. And that apartment she kept checking on for a friend? Yeah, I own that lease. Signed it under a Shell LLC months ago when she started acting strange. Told her I was investing in real estate. She thought it was boring. Spoiler, it wasn't. You see, I didn't want to just catch her. I wanted to understand her. See how deep the delusion ran. And most of all, I wanted to control what happened next. That's when I called Ben, my lawyer. He's one of those guys who wears suits to backyard BBQs and highlights prenuptial clauses like it's a hobby. You ready? He asked. Past ready. We'd drafted the separation terms weeks ago. I didn't want revenge. I wanted clarity. But I was also no fool. I knew Natalie wouldn't go quietly. And just in case she tried to spin this into some pity party, I'd collected every piece of evidence. Screenshots, ride logs, text exports, GPS trails, and yes, even the footage from the nanny cam I quietly installed in the guest room. She used that room a lot. Thought I didn't notice. I noticed. That afternoon, I sent her a text. Dinner tonight? Just us? I feel like we need to talk about where things are going. She responded in under a minute. Of course. Been meaning to talk, too. Olive and Oak at 7. How poetic. Same place we had our 3rd date. Same place she once told me I made her feel safe. Funny how betrayal always returns to where it bloomed. Olive and Oak was the kind of place that dimmed the lights just enough to make you forget you were paying $38 for chicken. Romantic, if you're into that sort of thing. She was already there when I arrived, sipping wine she never used to like before him. I walked in wearing calm like a tailored suit. She smiled. Tight, performative. You clean up nice. I took my seat across from her. So do you. New dress. She looked down, flattered. Yeah, got it last week. Lisa and I went shopping. There it was again. Lisa. Still the scapegoat. Poor woman had no idea how many alibis she'd sponsored. The waiter came, awkwardly cheerful. Start with drinks. I'll have what she's having, I said. Natalie laughed like we were on a second date. Look at us. Matching. I watched her take another sip, watched her swirl the wine like she knew what she was doing. She didn't. She just liked pretending she did. Same way she liked pretending she still respected me. So, she leaned in. You said we needed to talk. I nodded. We do. And then I waited. That's the trick. You leave the space open, let them panic in the silence. She shifted in her seat. The confident mask started to slip. The wine glass hesitated halfway to her mouth. I've been thinking a lot, she said finally. About us. About where we've been and where we're going. I raised an eyebrow. Where do you think we're going, Nat? She smiled, soft, sad, Oscar-worthy. I think we've lost something. Somewhere along the way, we just stopped trying. I feel like I don't know you anymore. You don't, I said simply. She blinked. I don't think you ever did, I added. The waiter dropped off appetizers. Crostini with some whipped goat cheese thing she used to hate. She bit into one anyway. She was performing, trying to set the stage before the fall. I want to fix this, she said. I want us to be better. Is that before or after your 7:10 Uber to Connor's apartment? I asked. She froze. Completely. Wine glass hovering midair. For the first time in a long time, she didn't have a script ready. Excuse me. I leaned in, voice quiet and surgical. I've seen the rides. I've seen the logs. You've used 3 different fake names in the app. One was Becca, which is adorable, because you always said that name sounded cheap. She swallowed. You've been spying on me? No, I said. You've just been incredibly sloppy. Her eyes darted around the restaurant. She lowered her voice. This isn't the place. No, I agreed. It's not. But you picked it. You wanted a scene. I'm just playing the role. She leaned in. Nothing happened. Something's been happening, I said. And it's been happening long enough for me to buy the building he lives in. That hit. Her jaw tensed. You're lying. Am I? Call your lover. Ask him who owns the lease. I'll wait. I didn't blink. I didn't gloat. I just stared into the face of a woman who finally realized the chessboard was tilted and she wasn't holding the queen. I don't understand, she whispered. No, I said, you don't. You've been playing checkers in a game of architecture. While you were out auditioning for the role of bored housewife in Heat, I was laying bricks under your fantasies. She exhaled hard. You're trying to humiliate me. I'm not trying, I said. You did that yourself. I'm just showing you the footage. I slid my phone across the table. On the screen was a paused video. Her, exiting that same apartment last Thursday, laughing, hair a mess, kissing him like she was 22 and morally bankrupt. She didn't press play. She didn't have to. Why are you doing this? She asked, voice shaking. Because I gave you 7 years. 7 years of loyalty, of showing up, of believing in your version of honesty. And you gave me GPS coordinates and receipts with fake names. I stood, took a slow breath. The waiter's coming back in 2 minutes. You'll order dessert. I won't be here. Wait. She reached for me, instinctive, desperate. Don't, I said. You don't get to reach for me now. You don't get to make me the villain in your affair. Her eyes glossed over. Not with sadness. With panic. What happens now? I smiled. Now? You go home. To our home. No, I said. To the one I let you believe you had. Check the drawer under the sink when you get there. You'll find the envelope. Keys. Deed transfer. Oh, and the prenup you signed? Clause 7B. Infidelity voids your equity claim. She sat back like I'd punched her. You're kicking me out. No, I said gently. You walked out. I just locked the door behind you. Then I left. Didn't slam the chair. Didn't raise my voice. Just paid the bill on the way out. Tipped the waiter generously and stepped into the cool evening air with the kind of calm you earn. Not fake. I didn't look back. Not because I didn't care, but because I already knew. She wasn't worth another second of my past. And tomorrow? Tomorrow I'd finally start living a life that didn't involve cleaning up someone else's mess with a smile. She got home around 9:45 p.m. I know because the motion alert from the front porch camera pinged my phone right as I poured myself a glass of scotch. The good stuff. The one she used to say tasted like tree bark, but suddenly became her favorite when her side piece started drinking it. I didn't watch the footage live. I let it sit there like an old voicemail from someone you've already buried. Instead, I stared out at the skyline from my new place, a modest condo overlooking the same city she thought she owned. Her voice rang through the footage later when I finally pressed play. At first, it was just her keys fumbling in the lock, then her calling my name. Eli, she said, still using that sing-song tone. The one she saves for when she's not sure if she should be afraid or flirty. The door opened, then silence, because she saw what I'd left behind. The house wasn't empty. That would have been too merciful. No, it was hollowed out with surgical precision. Everything I had touched, moved, repaired, built gone. My tools, my grandfather's watch, the Polaroid of us in Seattle from our second year, the one she swore she'd always keep in her wallet but actually stuffed in a kitchen drawer behind the wine keys. I even took the bookshelf I'd built from reclaimed oak because I remember how she once joked that it looked homemade in a bad way. What was left? A chair. One chair in the middle of the living room. And on it, the envelope. Manila. Sealed. Labeled with her name in the same neat handwriting she used to compliment me on. She picked it up like it might be booby-trapped. Like the truth inside could explode. It already had. Inside the envelope was a printout of her Uber logs. 6 rides, all to the same address, all booked under fake names she thought were clever. I highlighted the timestamps, lined them up with text messages she'd sent me, at Lisa's, and added a screenshot from Lisa's public Instagram post in Tampa during one of those very nights. She liked the post. Rookie mistake. Below that, a copy of the lease agreement. Her lover's apartment, owned by Marlin and Finch Property Group. Her eyes wouldn't recognize the name, but the LLC was registered under my business account. It was my building. I owned his damn walls. Next page, a photo of the two of them, walking out of his place. She was holding his hand. The timestamp in the corner didn't matter. It could have been any of them. They all looked the same. Smiling. Carefree. Unburdened by truth. Then came the real punch, the divorce paperwork. Signed by me. Filed that morning. Final page? A cover letter. Natalie, I wanted to give you a chance to explain. But then I realized something. I already understood. You didn't cheat because of me. You cheated because of you. You don't want honesty. You want comfort, praise, attention, and just enough chaos to feel interesting. I was stability. He was novelty. And you were too weak to tell the difference. So I made it simple. You don't have to choose anymore. Everything you see around you, you'll need to leave it by Monday. The lease is terminated. The furniture's sold. Your accounts, the joint ones, are closed. The car is registered to me. I already spoke to your sister about where you can stay. I didn't ruin your life. I just stopped letting you live it at my expense. Good luck. Eli. I signed it clean. No flourish. Just enough ink to say, I'm not the man you left. I'm the man you lost. Back on the porch cam footage, she stood there frozen. Envelope in hand. Mouth slightly open like the lies had dried up and left her speechless. She walked room to room after that. Pulled open drawers. Checked closets. The disbelief in her body language was something to behold. Like a queen returning to her castle to find out the villagers moved out and took the throne with them. Eventually, she sat in the chair. Just sat there. Same spot where we'd exchanged Christmas gifts the year we almost called it quits. I remember she cried that morning, said she couldn't live without me. Turns out, she could. I watched her tilt her head back, eyes closed, waiting for something, maybe a text, maybe regret. Maybe for me to come walking in and tell her this was all a scare tactic. A lesson. But the lesson wasn't for her. It was for me. You see, betrayal doesn't always show up with lipstick stains and lies. Sometimes it arrives in silence. In the way someone stops asking how your day was. In how they smile less when you enter the room. In the little exits they make every day, until one day they don't come back. She thought I'd rage, scream, break. But I didn't. I just planned. Because the best revenge is not chaos. It's clarity. She called me 4 times that night. I didn't answer once. The voicemail started around 11:07 p.m. First one was confusion. Second one, frustration. By the third, her voice cracked just enough to sound like panic. And the fourth? Tears. It's always tears, isn't it? They don't cry when they're cheating. They don't cry when they're lying to your face. But take away their comfort, their stability, the free ride on your integrity. Suddenly, it's Niagara Falls. The next morning, she showed up at my condo building. Yeah, the one she didn't know existed. The one with security. She tried to play sweet with the front desk. Said she was my wife. Which, technically, she still was for another week. But in that building, she was just a woman in heels, trying to get upstairs without a key card. Didn't work. Security buzzed me. "There's a Natalie here to see you." I smiled. "Tell her I'm unavailable. But she's welcome to sit in the lobby. I'll be down in an hour." And I made her wait. 57 minutes later, I walked through the elevator doors holding a coffee and a book. Didn't rush. Didn't even glance at her at first. "Eli," she said, standing like she was about to accept an award. I sat down across from her on one of those minimalist couches. The kind that looks expensive and feels like sitting on punishment. She tried to smile. Her makeup was doing its best. Her voice cracked on the word hi like it was trying to crawl its way into my sympathy. "I read the letter," she said softly. I nodded. "Good. It was written for you. I think." She paused, choosing her words like she was defusing a bomb. "I think we need to talk. Really talk." I looked her dead in the eye. What could you possibly say that wasn't already proven by GPS? Video footage and fake Uber aliases. She winced like the words physically slapped her. "I made a mistake." I took a slow sip of coffee. "No. You made a choice. Over and over. Mistakes happen once." She looked down. That faux humility she practiced in the mirror. "I didn't expect this from you." I smiled. "That's because you thought I was weak." "I didn't." "Yes, you did." I cut her off. Calmly. Firmly. "You thought I'd break. You thought I'd grovel or beg or explode. You forgot who I was, Natalie." "I was confused," she whispered. "No," I said. "You were comfortable." She blinked fast, trying to keep the tears back. I didn't flinch. "I gave you a good life," I continued. "Not a perfect one. Not a glamorous one. But a real one. You know how rare that is." She shook her head. "You're acting like I'm evil." "No," I replied. "You're not evil. You're entitled. You think you're owed passion and stability in the same box, like they're items on a menu. But you never once asked what I needed. You never once wondered if I was fulfilled. You never said anything," she murmured. "Because I wasn't auditioning for your attention," I said. "I was being your husband, while you were out being everyone's fantasy." She leaned back. "So what now? You just erase me? 7 years, just gone." "Not gone," I said. "Accounted for. Like a bad investment. I'm not pretending they didn't happen. I'm just cutting the losses. Can't we try?" Her voice broke on the last word. "Try what?" I said. "Trust? We don't have that. Intimacy? You gave that to someone else. Love? I loved you." Present tense revoked. Silence. Then she tried a last-ditch move, the one they always save for the final inning. "Are you seeing someone?" I actually laughed. "Wow. You lose the game and accuse the referee of cheating." Her cheeks flushed. Not with embarrassment, with desperation. "It'd just be nice to know if this is really about me. Or if you've moved on already." "This is about respect," I said. "Something you lost for me the moment you got in that man's car with a fake name." She opened her mouth to respond. I raised a hand. "You don't have to explain anything, Natalie. I don't need closure. I don't need tears. I don't even need an apology." Her eyes searched mine, maybe for softness. For that version of me who used to cook her pancakes on Sundays and rub her shoulders while she vented about her boss. That version was gone. And the man in front of her? He was done folding socks while she folded morals. She stood up slowly. "So that's it. That's it." She nodded, swallowing hard. "I loved you, you know." "No," I said. "You loved the way I loved you. That's different." She left without another word. And I sat there for a few more minutes, just watching the revolving door spin her out of my life. It didn't feel triumphant or tragic. It felt like truth, which, honestly, is the most freeing feeling in the world. Later that day, I met with my lawyer again. He handed me a file and said, "She's not contesting. She signed the settlement. No fight. No arguments. Even the cheater knows when they've been outplayed." I never planned on meeting him. Not really. But then again, he made himself hard to ignore. It started with a message, anonymous number, 4 words. "We need to talk." Normally, I don't entertain mystery texts, but something told me it wasn't spam. The next one confirmed it. "I'm Connor." I didn't know she was married. Well, that changed the math. We met in a coffee shop near the west side, neutral ground. He walked in looking exactly like the cliché I expected. Gym fit, a bit too proud of his beard, that look of constant fake confidence guys get when they've never truly been humbled. "Eli," he asked. I raised my coffee cup. "Connor." He sat. Didn't order anything. I had no idea, he said quickly. She told me you were separated. Yeah, she tells a lot of people that. I swear, he leaned forward. If I knew she was married. I cut him off. You didn't come here to apologize, Connor. So why don't you tell me why you did come? He blinked, then rubbed his jaw. She tried to move in with me. There it was. She showed up with luggage, he said. Told me you kicked her out and she had nowhere to go. Said we were meant to be. And honestly, that freaked me out. I smiled just a little. You thought you were the escape plan. Turns out, you were just the contingency. He looked down. Guess so. She didn't cheat for love, I said, standing to leave. She cheated for options. As I walked away, he called after me. What do I do if she comes back? I looked over my shoulder. Don't fold your socks. She hates that. A week later, the divorce was finalized. She showed up at my office. I was standing in the parking lot, unlocking my car, when I saw her reflection in the glass. Long coat, sunglasses, expression set to public victim. Eli, she said. I didn't turn. You're not on the calendar. I wanted to say goodbye. I faced her. Why? The marriage already did. She looked tired. Not from grief, from image maintenance. She'd been telling everyone her side of the story, playing the misunderstood wife, wounded and discarded. I knew, because mutual friends started reaching out. Half of them apologized for believing her spin. The other half just sent popcorn emojis and told me to watch what happened next. What do you want, Natalie? She hesitated. You made your point. Which one? That I screwed up. I gave her a look so blank it might as well have been a mirror. You think this was a lesson? She nodded. Wasn't it? No, Natalie. It was the receipt. Her face crumpled. You really hate me. I don't hate you, I said. I just finally believe you. Then I got in my car and drove off, leaving her standing in her perfectly rehearsed heartbreak. I didn't look back. You know what happens when you burn bridges? Eventually, everyone sees the smoke. Turns out, Natalie's story had more holes than Swiss cheese. Lisa posted a very polite but brutally honest status after being name-dropped one too many times. If you're going to use me as your fake alibi, at least Venmo me for the wine. Natalie lost most of her audience after that. Then came Connor. Apparently, he found his spine. Word got out that he'd dumped her, too. Told his friends exactly what she did, including the fact that she showed up uninvited trying to claim his spare toothbrush. Not a great look. She bounced between a couple places, tried to couch surf, but the invitations dried up fast. Betrayal makes people nervous. Nobody wants to be next. Meanwhile, I thrived. Moved to a smaller place, bought a dog, took a solo trip to Iceland. Rebuilt, not just my life, but my peace. And you know what? It felt good to be underestimated, because it gave me space to rise without interference. She messaged me once more. A long, winding text about missing who we were. I replied with 3 words. So do I. Left it at that. Revenge is a funny word. People think it means smashing plates and shouting matches. But real revenge? Real revenge is her logging into Instagram and seeing a photo of me smiling in front of a glacier. It's watching my business grow without her name on it. It's hearing from a mutual that I've been promoted, traveled, laughed, all without a single tear shed in her name. Cruel revenge is not cruelty at all. It's absence. It's the silence that replaces your name where it used to live rent-free. It's knowing you used to be my future, and now you're not even a speed bump in my rearview. It's her sitting in a half-empty apartment, staring at a phone that doesn't ring, hoping the next guy doesn't recognize the pattern before she gets comfortable. And me? I'm good. Because sometimes the best way to end a story is to write yourself out of it. For good.